Hello, this is Linda Vettrus-Nichols. Do I have an amazing person to introduce you to? Henry Wang. Henry, welcome.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, how are ya? I'm good, Henry. Thank you. All right. So, green Earth. Whoa, that Earth doesn't look too green, and our Earth is getting less green by the day. And you are such a uh, pro at understanding climate change. Tell us a little bit about how you got to that point in your life. You're in Hong Kong right now, right? You live in Hong Kong?
Yes, I'm
Hmm.
in Hong Kong. I was born in Hong Kong, and then I did my university in education in the UK, and then I had the fortune of joining one of the biggest company in the world, and then worked in different locations in Europe and also in Asia. And then I also work in the Middle East. But
Wow.
in my 40 years of corporate life, I was very fortunate actually to be director for strategy to guide these major enterprises in their successful development. And I was lucky to be involved with climate change
Ah,
out in the last 20, 30 years. So I've been working in this, and I found that this is a great area for me to devote a lot of my time and energy. I
yeah.
was to be appointed by the Prime Minister of UK and also the Prime Minister of China to join the bilateral climate working group when
Wow.
I was based in Beijing. So that was wonderful to be at the start of the climate journey there.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've been invited to G2B2 summits as well?
Yes, I've been honored to be invited to advise the G20 leaders and B20 CEOs. Uh, how it works normally is the G20 presidents rotates every year between the G20 countries. So I was invited by the president, the former president of Indonesia, to join his climate, energy, and sustainability task force in 2022. And then in 2023, the Prime Minister of India, Prime Minister Modi, invited me to join his climate, energy, and resource task force,
That's
as
awesome.
well as the ESG and Business Action Council. So these were great opportunities to work with the leading CEOs and experts around the world to prepare
Right.
policy recommendation to the G20 leaders.
Very cool. And you've written what, six books? You've written quite a few books. Are they all on climate change?
Yeah, I've written about 6 books covering energy, climate change, negotiations, sustainability. My early 3 books were about the work I did in Europe and in China on negotiating some of the biggest contracts
Wow.
uh, at that time. And my publisher, Rutledge, said there was a huge interest both in Europe and in Asia on how I negotiated these contracts.
Wonderful.
So basically, my first 3 books were based on my work experience, and then the last 3 books were based on the or were about renewable clean energy and also climate management and then sustainable development. And
Wonderful.
now I've been invited to write my 7th book, which we hope to publish next year. And that would be on carbon neutrality.
Ooh, very good. Very good. Yeah. So if you were to give out some climate change tips, what would be a couple of climate change tips? Maybe even what might be number one tip.
Oh, wow, that's a good question. Actually, this morning I was invited by the Malaysian climate uh, governance network to join their panel at COP29, which is ongoing in Baku in Azerbaijan.
Yeah.
And as you know, the international COP29 meetings is going on with leaders and experts from over 150 countries
Mm.
all attending. And I think in our work with the G20 leaders, I think we agree that this is really probably the number one risk to the human race. And if we don't do anything, like some of the non-believers or some of the people are advocating, then the temperature around the world will rise about 4 degrees by the end of the century. And these will result in thousands of extreme climate events. I mean, we're already seeing flooding, heavy rain,
Yeah.
extreme temperature, then melting ice caps, glacier, and that all sort of things. So
Right.
I mean, now in Asia, we are still having typhoon in November, which is unheard of, and it
Oh,
is still the highest ever recorded in the last 200 years. This is absolutely alarming, actually.
yeah.
If people don't believe in global warming and climate change, they just
Okay.
have to the actual temperature
Yeah.
uh, happening around the world at the moment.
Yeah, and doesn't it kind of swing one way and then swing another? And would we end up having like freezing cold winters and way too hot summers? Is there a little bit of a back and forth that goes on and the temperatures get lower in one and higher in another where the roads are even melting? We've heard those stories already.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. The global climate system has a way of balancing itself to try to uh, achieve a global balance. I mean, so I think where some parts of the world are experiencing extreme heat, like India, even 50 degree over 50 degrees, causing the roads to melt. Other parts of the world are freezing, and this is and also in terms of rain, we see flooding in different countries, like in Spain now, in
Yeah.
Europe.
Yeah. And I'm in Western North Carolina, so like our whole geology now has changed. They're considering it a geological event because all this water coming off of those mountains and changing I don't know what they call it, like topography or whatever, even the geology part of it. And it's just incredible. One field had 5 feet of just rocks and um like how do you plow a field with 5 feet of rocks? So lives have changed here drastically, like in Valencia, Spain. I think the water I have a Shih Tzu and we get her groomed and the water there in the salon went 11 feet up to the ceiling. It was just crazy here and close to Asheville.
The weather system is so massive and complex that is beyond the control of any one country. So this is affecting all the countries
Yeah.
around the world, and human science. I mean, they tried to, with all the AI and things like that, to predict hurricanes and typhoons and rain, but there's still a long way to go when people can have a suitable warning system so
Right.
that people
Yeah.
evacuate
And the
in
worst,
these.
yeah, the worst thing is going off the grid. All of a sudden, there's no grid. The whole infrastructure falls apart. So there was like no electricity, and there's still not potable water running. We were very blessed. We had water the whole time. And what else? Like the internet, we didn't have internet for 6 days. And to get food, that we needed cash. Once the electricity came on, the internet was still down. And so the stores could only take cash, and then the cash machines were empty. It was so crazy. You needed cash to get gas, you needed cash to get food. It was unreal, and
Absolutely.
just weren't prepared. Like who thinks of hurricanes up in the mountains of Western North Carolina? So yeah,
Absolutely.
that was crazy.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Henry. This has been great to get to know you and your work a little bit better.